Honestly, I didn't think Watkins Glen was gonna be all that, but boy did it shock me. Holy hell, we got a lot to talk about. Yo, what's up everyone, my name is Jett. Welcome back to episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. Round number 2 of the round of 16 in the NASCAR playoffs just concluded, and my oh my, do we got a lot to talk about. So many playoff drivers had issues, were involved in crashes, and we had one dramatic wild finish to cap it all off. I mean, let's go right into it with NASCAR overtime. I mean, that's how wild this race was. Near the end of the race, we saw multiple cautions, multiple crashes that sent us to NASCAR overtime. But on NASCAR overtime, you had Chris Buescher and you also had Carson Hocevar up front. Shane Van Gisbergen dives into turn number 1, gives the 17 to Buescher a nudge, sends the 17 and the 77 up a racetrack. That allows Gisbergen to have a clear pathway going up to the S's, go on the inside of Buescher, and takes the lead, takes it coming to the white flag. But then on the bus stop, a critical issue, a driver made error by Shane Van Gisbergen. He slightly just taps the wall coming into the bus stop, gets out of shape, goes out wide. That allows Buescher to get to the back bumper of Gisbergen, and as a form of payback, Buescher gets into the right rear corner panel of Gisbergen, sends him up the racetrack. Buescher goes on by to take the lead right back from Gisbergen, and he was able to hold on. SVG was sliding all over the racetrack, nearly spun the car out, but was able to hold on. But Buescher, more importantly, was able to hold back SVG from attacking him, and Chris Buescher gets redemption and wins at Watkins Glen. His first road course win in 36 starts. His first win since last year, I believe, at Daytona. It's been a long time since the 17 of Buescher went to victory lane. He only led 19 of the 92 laps, but is now a winner in 2024 after an incredible battle between him and Shane Van Gisbergen. Here's a look at the results here. Chris Buescher wins, SVG in 3rd. Carson Hocevar in 3rd place. Absolutely incredible. In fact, let's take a look at this top 10, right? Carson Hocevar 3rd, Zane Smith 5th, and Corey LaJoie. Even though Corey LaJoie, we're gonna talk about him in a little bit. Even though he tried to commit murder on the first lap once again, I'm over exaggerating, but yeah, Corey LaJoie doing his usual LaJoie things, somehow was able to finish in the top 10. I mean, Spire Motorsports, an incredible day for that organization. Sandwich in the middle is Ross Chastain, finished in the 4th position after he started on pole. He won stage 2. Chase Briscoe, excellent points day for him in 6th. McDowell in 7th. Ryan Preece in 9th. And round of the top 10 is Austin Cindric. Noah Gragson 11th. Kyle Larson in 12th. Larson had a wild day. Daniel Suarez 13th. Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Todd Gillen, Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, and Mark Truex Jr. A lot of playoff drivers were involved in accidents. We're going to discuss that later on. Other notables like Ty Gibbs 22nd. Denny Hamlin had another bad day in 23rd. We're going to talk about him. Harrison Byrne 24th. Keselowski 26th. Tyler Reddick 27th. Kyle Busch in 30th. Juan Montoya 32nd, William Byron 34th, AJ Allmendinger 36th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 37th. Now, why is Blaney dead last? Well, it's because of what happened on lap 1. Yes, this race was wild from the get-go. Also, happened on the bus stop. Corey LaJoie on lap 1 hits Kyle Busch, sends him around. Denny Hamlin then hits Kyle Busch. Smoke, dust flies everywhere. Christopher Bell spins. Other drivers involved, like Bubba Wallace, was also involved in this one. But then Ryan Blaney, here he is. He misses the wreck, but he makes contact with Brad Keselowski. Somehow hits him hard enough that it breaks his steering column and sends him straight off track. He needs to be towed back to not pit road, to his pit stall, but towed to the garage. His day was done and over with. And Ryan Blaney was very upset because, his explanation was that NASCAR doesn't even give them the opportunity to at least check it out. It's like, as soon as you go into the garage, you are done for the day. And Blaney was really angry at NASCAR for that. In an interview, you could see how visibly upset he was that they weren't given the opportunity to at least look at the damage, see what happened. It was, no, pack it up in the garage, you're done. Yeah, I've voiced my opinion on the DVP. I do not like it at all. I think it's stupid. It's not needed. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the damaged vehicle policy, so I completely understand Ryan Blaney's frustrations, and I don't know, maybe, hopefully, NASCAR does some revisions to that, because in my eyes, the DVP is extremely, extremely harsh, and I do not like it at all. But yeah, right away, it was I mean, chaotic from the get-go. The next restart, Adrian Allmendinger had an issue, nearly wrecked in front of the field, in front of Joey Logano, someone who was able to save it, but he had an issue, so he had went into pit lane and went to the garage to make repairs and all that stuff. But that was really about it. Truex will go on to win stage 1 after almost majority of the field came on the pit road with 3 laps to go to prepare for the next stage. Strategy was all over the place. That was the name of the game at Watkins Glen here today, and it made the race very, very interesting to watch. Stage 2, Chastain back out in front. Turn 1 on the restart, Suarez hits Reddick. Reddick goes around, and that was the beginning of Reddick's downfall, because after that, Reddick just could not get back up to the front. He was my pick to win, but he had issues after that spin with Suarez. Just was never able to get back out in front. Lap 38 then, Daniel Suarez himself. I believe he lost a tire, spun in turn 6, goes into the sand trap. The caution comes out right before leaders Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen were about to pit. That sends their strategy out the window. You then had Brad Keselowski. He was penalized for a tire going out of his pit lane. And then Kyle Larson was penalized for a vehicle interference. They go to the back. Chastain goes on to win stage 2 because SVG and Ross, they stayed out to earn those stage points. But yeah, I listed already Suarez, Larson, Keselowski, Blaney, Hamlin, all of them had issues. And Reddick, and would continue to get worse for other playoff drivers later on. Stage 3 on lap 47, Denny Hamlin had more issues when he goes 3 wide with Larson and Keselowski up in turn 2, and obviously that didn't work. Keselowski hits Hamlin, Hamlin backs it into the wall. And with all the cautions and the strategy and how everything played out, your top 5 was Ross Chastain, Shane Van Gisbergen, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and Corey LaJoie. Somehow the strategy and the cautions line up in their favor, but the Ross and Shane, they had to pit, and they did later on. Buescher took the lead with 33 laps to go. The next time by, Chastain and Shane pits. But once the pit road cycled through, Buescher was the leader, but Shane Van Gisbergen was on a flyer. He had the fastest car, was cycled back to maybe 5th or 6th place, drove his way up to 2nd, and you had about a 13-lap shootout, 5 seconds between the leader, Chris Buescher, and Shane Van Gisbergen in 2nd. And then a caution comes out. Harrison Burton cuts a tire, sends tire debris onto the racetrack. That throws that battle out the window, and all hell started to break loose. On the next restart, Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano get together in turn 4 at the top of the S's, sending Brad into William Byron, who goes up in the air, and it was a scary moment because Byron's right front tire was dangerously close to the window net of Brad Keselowski. Luckily, both cars were able to continue actually for a little bit. Somehow, I don't know how both cars were still able to drive away, but they were both able to continue and finish the race, but it was definitely a scary moment. The wrecking, though, did not stop there. On the next restart, the 38 car of Todd Gillen hits the 9 of Chase Elliott, who then hits the 4 car of Josh Berry. They all three go into the wall and blocks the entire racetrack. Truex gets involved. Justin Haley and then Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch were also involved as well. That sends us into NASCAR overtime, and that's how we got to the finish between Shane Van Gisbergen and Chris Buescher in that incredible final lap finish. Here's a look at the point standings heading into the final race of the round of 16, the elimination race next weekend at Bristol. This is how it is. Joey Logano still at the moment is the only driver that is safe for next weekend at Bristol. He's locked into the round of 12 with his win at Atlanta. Christopher Bell plus 46. How about Austin Cindric sits 3rd plus 43. Alex Bowman plus 41. Daniel Suarez Nation sitting pretty at plus 36. Tyler Reddick plus 30 as well as Chase Elliott. Blaney now falls to plus 29. Larson plus 26. And Byron plus 25. And then a sharp decrease. So Briscoe and Gibbs plus 6. Gibbs holds the final spot ahead of his teammate Denny Hamlin, who now enters the final race of the round of 16 below the cut line at minus 6. Brad Keselowski minus 12. Truex Jr. minus 14. And Harrison Burton minus 20. My thoughts on this race. First off, I just want to say, again, another shout out to Lee Diffie. Amazing final lap call, and I love how NBC utilizes the crowd. That final lap was so awesome to see. The race itself, I thought was really good. The tire fall off wasn't as great as I thought it would be. And maybe it should have been expected. The tire fall off wasn't going to be as great as we were expecting. Still, there was some tire fall off. Big improvement there. Hopefully Goodyear can learn on that. But it was a massive improvement over last year's race. Last year's race was so boring. It was god awful. This race, much better. We saw some comers and goers. Strategy was a lot more wild, very interesting because of the tire strategy, or the tire fall off. Strategy was much more interesting than last year's race, even though last year had no cautions. So the strategy was good. We saw some good battles. Wasn't the best Watkins Glen race. Near the end of the race, it got a bit more chaotic, but still strategy from start to finish made this race very interesting to watch. So I very much enjoyed that. If I were to give a rating, I give it maybe a 7.5, a little 8 out of 10. Wasn't the best. It was a good, really good Watkins Glen race. I came out of that very satisfied from what I saw. Wasn't the best, but it was still really, really good, I thought, for Watkins Glen standards. But yeah, I mean, talk about some of these playoff drivers. Denny Hamlin. Wow. You want to talk about, I mean, this is a driver. I had him in the championship 4, and I think a lot of people had him at least in the round of 8. And I mean, yeah, look, 6 points. Yes, that's nothing. And Hamlin can easily gain that back in one stage. But, I mean, the way how these two races have gone for the 11 team. In fact, it's even before that. Daytona, I mean, bad luck there. Yes, he finished 7th at Darlington, but still, these past 3 to 4 weeks have not been kind to Denny Hamlin. And yes, he has won the last 2 races at Bristol. But, I mean, I don't know. 6 points, listen. Strange things have happened. We have seen drivers at Bristol last year. I look at Joe Logano, a driver that last year a lot of us assumed would make it into the round of 12, and he got knocked out in the round of 16. So, yeah, he can gain 6 points with ease, but you don't want to have to rely on, oh, yeah, of course he can, because stranger things have happened in NASCAR. So, yeah. Very tough break for Denny Hamlin. Odd situation for him to be in. Same thing with Martin Truex Jr. I had him out in the round of 16, so I'm kind of not surprised. But man, I expected him to run better, but unfortunately, like I said, he got caught up in a crash late in the race, kind of derailed his plans there. But also that 19 team, just bad luck, either self-inflicted or getting caught up in someone else's mess. Tough break for those two Joe Gibbs Racing drivers. Huge shout outs. I mean, listen, we got one race, but Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric, they surprised me. I was not expecting them to be anywhere near. I mean, Suarez 5th, Cindric 3rd they're sitting in. I mean, they don't have to win. They can run average. I mean, they can run 15th and they be good. I mean, I'm very impressed by the 2 and the 9-9. Excellent start to the playoffs for those two drivers. But I think that's kind of what we came to expect. With the way the playoffs have been structured this year, with going to Atlanta, a mini super speedway, to then a road course like Watkins Glen and a short track like Bristol, this created this opportunity where there is a high likelihood we see some underdogs that we don't expect to make it to the round of 16 advance, and champions, and future Hall of Famers potentially on their way out. So this one exactly as how NASCAR planned, for sure. Tough break for SVG. I mean, I was rooting for both drivers. I like Shane, I like Chris, so I had no issue with who was going to win. But I did want to say, I did scream when I saw Shane go wide, because I'm like, oh my goodness. Like what Lee Diffie said, shades of Ambrose and Keselowski in 2012. I mean, that's what it looked like, what I thought was going to happen. A great drive from those two drivers. An awesome final lap, clean final lap from those two drivers. I thought Shane was just going to send it on the penultimate corner there. Glad he didn't, although I think he did try to. Glad he didn't just dump him right before the start finish line, but it was still a very fun finish. And man, Shane is going to be fun to watch, especially on these road courses when he goes full time in 2025. I believe that's all I got. I don't know what else I can say about this race. Again, a couple of other drivers like Kyle Larson. I mean, he had speed, but, again, with that penalty and other issues just kind of prevented him from improving forward. Chase Elliott, a driver that I think we all expected to maybe run a bit better. I mean, he had speed, top 10 speed, but, I mean, he was nowhere to be found all race long. But this was unusual. I was not expecting this many playoff drivers to have this many issues. Honestly, I think maybe Ty Gibbs, Logano, maybe Alex Bowman. I think that's it. I could be wrong. I think that's it. And Chase Briscoe, I think, are the only 4 playoff drivers, that didn't have anything go wrong. And with Bristol next week, depending on what we get, if we get Bristol like what we saw in the spring, oh boy, that's going to be fun to watch. But I'm going to leave my thoughts for a later episode in the week. What are your thoughts on this race in the comment section down below? Did you like it? Did you not? As always, until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.